Hey there, welcome to TXJ Hairstyling, and today we're going over how to do a root touch-up. I'm starting with a basic 4 sections, so if you want to know how to do that, then I will put the link to the video below. Now, I'm an educator, so sometimes I've got 20 students at a time practicing, so the product I'm using today is a practice hair color that I make. Again, link below on how I make my practice hair color. First thing I like to do is I like to do the root touch-up at the section lines. That way when the clips come off, I still have my quadrants nice and clear. Here you can see that it's about a 1/2 inch section, so I want that to be consistent throughout the entire application. So I'm doing the front and the back, and then I'm going to start with that front quadrant. Now for this practice, we are going to pretend that we're going darker and we're covering the grays. That does actually have an impact as to why we're starting in the front. I'll explain more later. But as for this part, see how I'm holding the hair up a little bit? You're going to see that the application is a little bit messy when I start. So what I need you to do is flatten the hair right to the head. See how much cleaner that is? And again, we want the application to be consistent from the front to the back. So again, about a 1/2 inch, little over a centimeter. When you're taking your sections, you need to take them thin enough that you can see the hair color through from the previous section. So you can see that here. If you can't see that, then your sections are too wide and you're going to have dry parts and you're going to have areas that don't cover properly. That's really easy to do, so you don't want to do that. Now with this part, I didn't add any more hair color. I'm just working through the old hair color from before, so you don't always have to apply new stuff. Here I'm showing you how some people also do the bottom of the section before bringing it up. You're only going to see me do this once because I personally don't do this. I find that sometimes you end up having too much product and then you end up with more overlap. So I like to take thin sections and work away from myself, like you can see here. Really make sure that you're getting at that front hairline though. At this point, you're just going to continuously take your thin sections and keep applying. As we're moving to the bottom, what I want you to do is see how I changed the angle of my mannequin. When you start a client's hair, you're looking from above. You're starting at the top, so you're looking down from the top, so at a 90-degree angle. When you're getting to the sides here, you want to look straight on. So if you have to with your client, you're going to pump them up on the chair. That's something that I always forgot to do. And then I end up with a sore back. But anyway, pump your client up and you want to look straight on. The reason why you want to do that is a lot of students, they'll keep looking from above and they think they're doing a consistent 1/2 inch section all the way down, when really it turns into like 3/4 of an inch to a full inch. And that inconsistency is going to result in lower marks. Now, the one thing is our mannequins don't grow roots. If you can do a nice even root application on a mannequin, you're golden when it comes to your clients because you can actually see that root line, while with your mannequin you don't. So you kind of have to imagine it a little bit. Get any of those little hairs out of the way. There you go. And then really make sure you get this area. You really want to get the temple. Again, we're pretending that we have a client who came in a month ago and now the gray hairs are coming out. So you really want to make sure that all those gray hairs are covered. Now, while I'm here, I tend to do that back hairline. You don't have to. You can do that when you're done the back section. But hey, if I'm there, might as well do it. Different stylists have kind of their own different techniques on that. Now, when you flip it over, you just grab those hairs and you just flip it over. Some students really like to flatten it and comb it down. Please don't do that. You just want to let it just kind of sit there and let the air go through. Right now, I'm just touching up that front hairline. Super important. Again, if you're covering grays, a client really doesn't want to see that the hair color isn't covered everywhere in the front. And then when it comes to this part, I'm just working it through. I already have the product there from my the first application. So I'm just working that in. And then what I'm going to do is, again, etch out that quadrant section line and complete that section. Now you don't need to see me do this part, so I'm going to flip over to the back and show you this part, because this is where students get confused the most, is in the back. So I'm actually going to leave this hair over onto the side. I'm not going to move it just yet. I'm going to do that later. And then again, I'm going to do my section lines first. As I said, this kind of helps keep my quadrants nice and clean when I'm applying the hair color. Okay, so here you can see that the lines are covered. A lot of students accidentally section it in like diagonal or vertical lines. You don't want to do that. So you see at the top where there's that little peak, so it goes into kind of a little point. You're just going to take a teeny tiny section here. So it's going to look like a little tiny triangle. And then what you want to do is apply. So there are thinner brushes. I just have this thicker one, so I'm just going to make do with what I've got. But if easier, you can use a thinner color brush. And then see, what I want you to look at is how I'm taking very horizontal sections. And I'm going to keep that going as I go down. So as you're watching me do that, I want to talk about something that I brought up earlier, that we're going darker. So we're starting at the front of the head. So hair naturally is darker at the back of the head, and it's usually finer and lighter at the front of the head naturally. So we're talking about the natural hair here, not previously colored hair. So let's say if you're covering grays or going darker, you want to start where the hair is lightest so that it develops a lot longer there and less in the back. If you're going light though, so let's pretend we went all over blonde a month ago. Now we've got some roots. What you want to do is you actually want to apply the color on the back section. So you do the back, back, front, front. And that's so that you don't end up with overly processed, lightened roots at the front and then orangey, yellowy roots at the back. Okay. So you're kind of doing the opposite. So if you're going darker, you're going to do front section, front section. If you're going lighter, then you're going to do back section, and then front, front. Okay, so I'm finishing up this last section, and then I'm going to open it up and show you some errors. So this last one, we've got a few problems that I want you to not have. But I'll show that in a moment. First, I'm going to show you how I take things down. So people like to clip things. Don't clip. You don't need to clip hair color. You want to kind of just let it all just sit down like that so that the oxygen gets in. Hair color can't really apply properly without oxygen. Okay, so I'm just taking those sections back and I'm just letting them fall backwards. However, I would not leave that front section all the way combed over like that. So I just take my tail comb and I just kind of go at the top part and I just flip that over. And you can kind of like pull it away from the face so that it's not hanging in your client's face. But yeah, at this point, it's good. So as a teacher, once my students are done, I cross-check. I'm going to get my head out of the way here. But here you can see that the root goes longer at the bottom while it's smaller at the top. So that's what happens when you're just looking from above. Now this area, you can see a lot of globs. That means I have too much hair color there. Usually if there's too much hair color, it's the same all the way across that whole section. So those are a couple of the main issues that students have. Anyway, so this is my overall root touch-up application. I hope that it was helpful and I hope it works for your classrooms. And if you're just a regular person trying to practice how to do this, I hope that you found this very helpful. So make sure to subscribe, share, and comment below and let me know how this worked out for you. Until next time.